Agreed.
Yes,
Agreed.
it's a beautiful thing.
Maybe that's why he chose it.
Yeah.
So,
Very good. So Isaiah 61, we're going to read verses 1 through 3. And it reads, "The Spirit of the Lord God is upon me, because the Lord hath anointed me to preach good tidings unto the meek. He has sent me to bind up the brokenhearted, to proclaim liberty to the captives, and the opening of prison to them that are bound,
turn up.
to proclaim the acceptable year of the Lord, and the day of vengeance of our God, to comfort all that mourn, to appoint unto them that mourn in Zion, to give unto them beauty for ashes, the oil of joy for mourning, the garment of praise for the spirit of heaviness, that they might be called trees of righteousness, the planting of the Lord, that he might be glorified."
Woo! Hopefully he be glorified today. That's my intention, is to glorify God. Shout out to all the Apple users, because y'all know the update just happened, and our screen just gonna update right here in the middle of the show. I don't know if it's turn up or turn down. So if
we're gonna work it out.
Yeah, we're gonna try our best. Feel free to jump in the chat still. We're gonna have to look extra hard to see it, but as soon as the tablet done update, we're gonna be there with you.
Sister Gail James, greetings, sister.
Yes, sir. So let's go ahead and kick this off in Luke chapter 16. And I wanted to start, since we're dealing with Israel and the interaction with the strangers, with something that Jesus said, right? Because he's supposed to be the master, right? He's the Messiah, right? So if there's anything we should be hearing, anything he spoke on, we should be hearing.
Yes.
Right? So if he's talking about people outside of Israel, we should probably take heed to it.
Julius, get off. Get off. See to your family, brother. You good, Brother Isaac? What's going on?
Yes, sir. I ain't mad at it.
All right, man. I know he can't help it. This brother loves you guys.
So,
yes.
And you know that's what they made the phone for.
And we love him.
He probably in line right now, holding the phone up, looking at it. It's all good.
Yes, yeah. All right, Isaiah.
Luke chapter 16, we're going to start at verse 1.
Verse 1.
And we're going to read to 9. Verse 1 through 9.
Okay.
Whenever you get it, go ahead.
"And he said unto his disciples, There was a certain rich man which had a steward, and the same was accused unto him that he had wasted his goods.
Okay.
And he called him and said unto him, How is it that I hear this of thee? Give an account of thy stewardship, for thou mayest be no longer steward."
So in your own time, you want to go back and research steward and what this has to do with the people of God. But I'll just tell you right now that you the steward. Yeah. I'm the steward. We all are the stewards. Yeah. So he talking about us here. Right, go ahead, please.
"Then the steward said unto himself, within himself, What shall I do? For my Lord taketh away from me the stewardship. I cannot dig, to beg I am ashamed."
So we talking about he's about to be put out of the stewardship. There's not no ifs. The Lord said, you may no longer be steward. And then the steward said, the Lord taketh away the stewardship from you. So we talking about what happens when it's taken away. All right, go ahead.
"They may receive me into their houses." No, verse 4.
Yes, sir.
"I am resolved what to do, that when I am put out of the stewardship, they may receive me into their houses."
So he's talking about the people that owe him money. Right, he's figuring out what to do because he's already determined to be put out the stewardship. But what happens after that? That's what we're talking about. Go ahead.
"So he called every one of his Lord's debtors unto him, and said unto the first, How much owest thou unto my Lord? And he said, 100 measures of oil. And he said unto him, Take thy bill, and sit down quickly, and write 50.
Right, so the one guy owe him $100 and say 100 measures of oil. Right, but I'm an American, so I'm gonna talk like an American. They owe him $100, and he said instead of 100, write down 50. Right, so in case you can't see what's happening, he was coming back with 0, but now instead he's coming back with half, and everybody knows that half is better than 0. Right, continue, please.
"Then said he to another, And how much owest thou? And he said, 100 measures of wheat. And he said unto him, take thy bill and write fourscore.
And fourscore, of course, is 80. So again, he was coming back with 0, but instead now he's gonna come back with 80% of the same or of the other guy's bill. Go ahead.
And the Lord commended the unjust steward because he had done wisely.
Why?
For the children of this world are in their generation wiser than the children of light.
You know, Jesus always, not always, but he often says things that make you scratch your head. Things that make you go, you would not expect the Messiah to say to people, right? And so this is one of those times. So if you may, read verse 8 again, because Jesus is talking about you now, and he's talking about me, and he's talking about how wise we are. Because remember, the word of God is supposed to be our wisdom, right? But in this specific situation, some other people are more wise. Then it said the children of light. Read that again, please.
And the Lord commended the unjust steward because he had done wisely.
Yeah.
For the children of this world are in their generation wiser than the children of light.
I know it too, because the children of the light, they'll try to just be like, man, he won't give it to me, and I want all or nothing. Right? The children of this world teach us that it's better to come with 50% than with 0, or to come with 80% than 0. And this is what Jesus is telling us here.
Nothing from nothing leaves nothing.
Agreed. For sure.
Yeah.
Verse 9.
Verse 9. And I say unto you.
So advice time now. Because of all that stuff, the children of this world know more than you, this is what's going to happen.
Make to yourselves friends of mammon of unrighteousness, that when ye fail, that they may receive you into everlasting habitation.
So we know that word mammon refers to money, or getting money, or the love of money, or the idea that money is the most important thing. Right? So when he says, make yourself friends of the mammon of unrighteousness, so that when you fail, they may receive you into everlasting habitations. Talking about dealing with people outside of maybe your congregation or your fellowship, right? So certainly outside of the children of Israel. Why? Because they know how to deal with that kind of stuff, with money. Because a lot of times, Israelites will get it twisted. And they be like, you know what I'm saying, I got enough money, you know, my kids going to college or whatever, so now it's time to go on, you know, trips or whatever. And the Bible says that a good man leave an inheritance to his children's children.
Yes, sir.
I'd love to know how many Israelites understand in this economic time how to leave an inheritance to their children's children. Right? I'm gonna let me touch that thing there, see if I can make that work while we waiting on them to come back with it. No, that's a passcode and all that on there.
There we go.
And I really want to know that.
Peace, Sister Ann Johnson. And Booker T. What's up, Booker T in the house? Ivana. Damo Jones. All right, greetings.
Yeah, there you go. Okay.
Yeah.
We back up now.
All right, let's go.
The reason I asked that question is because, again, I gave y'all stats last time I was here about how much money the average Israelite got. I ain't going to go all off into it again. Feel free to rewind it back last week. And my point in saying that is because it's almost impossible. So the only way you're going to be able to do something like that outside of the miracle of God is taking God's advice, going outside of your nation. Right? Because, again, whether you need a doctor for a broken foot, or for your mental illness, or for whatever, it's like Israel is the tail. So how you ever figure that Israel gonna be able to do everything, right? That's what makes us Israel, that we the tail. So if you want the best of anything, you got to go outside the camp, right? You can't even go get God unless you go outside the camp, right? But that's another story for another time. Let's go to the law, Leviticus chapter 17, and we just want to keep that in mind that Jesus, you know, not only said it was okay to deal with people outside, but said you kind of should. Because remember, he gave them talents, and if your talents ain't increased, and for that person who does not have, he's going to take away that which you have. And the person who has, he's going to have more. Right? How you think, because that's what he told him, right? Put my money to usury.
Yes.
So that I have a return on it.
Yeah.
How many Israelite bankers you know? I know zero.
Talents. Yeah. I
know zero. So again, how is she going to do that usury thing? That's outside the camp. Okay? So, Leviticus 17, we're going to deal with the law a little bit because, you know, we're dealing with Israel and strangers. So, yeah. Leviticus 17, and let's do verse 1 whenever you get there.
Okay. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto Aaron and unto his sons and unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, This is the thing which the Lord hath commanded, saying, what man soever there be of the house of Israel that killeth an ox, or a lamb, or a goat in the camp, or that killeth it out of the camp.
So catch what we talking about here. We talking about sacrifices.
Yes.
Right? Because remember last time I was talking about the Passover, if you could work yourself in the Passover, then you should be good with the Lord. Right? So now we talking about sacrifices in general, and he started off talking about Israel. And if you're going to kill something, you got to do something with the sacrifice. Verse 4.
And bringeth it not unto the door of the tabernacle of the congregation to offer an offering unto the Lord before the tabernacle of the Lord, blood shall be imputed unto that man.
Mm-hmm.
He hath shed blood, and that man shall be cut off from among his people.
So if you make a sacrifice, or you kill an animal intending to sacrifice it, you don't bring it to the door of the congregation, you show. Okay? So, man, Facebook is just, oof. All week Facebook been messing with me. It's all good. I'm going to pray for Facebook. I'm going to pray for them. I'm going to pray for YouTube when we get off here too.
It's updated.
Right? If y'all can hear me, I'm still here. You see what my face look like? Just visualize me talking. I'm going in and yelling and screaming. I'm wiping the sweat right now. That's what's happening.
100.
All right?
If you can hear, let us get some thumbs up if you can hear us. Okay, so there's a question mark. Yaman?
Okay. Everybody
Yeah.
everybody is updating today.
Yeah.
That's must because of that new tablet they dropped in. So, oh well. All right, we're gonna keep going.
Okay.
YouTube and Facebook, but we got Instagram going, and that's where all the youth is. So come on.
Let's go.
Verse what we at? We read verse 4?
Verse 4.
Okay, can you read verse 4 one more time? Make sure I got everything.
And bringeth it not unto the door of the tabernacle of the congregation to offer an offering unto the Lord before the tabernacle of the Lord, blood shall be imputed unto that man. He has shed blood, and that man shall be cut off from among his people.
Yes, sir. I remember the first time I read this, and I didn't even know I was Israel yet, and I was just like, oh man, I'm going to be cut off from among my people. Not from among his people, but his people is his people, and my people over here, he going to cut me off from among them. Right? And that's the idea that we talking about here, from whoever your people is. Right? Verse 5.
Verse 5. To the end that the children of Israel may bring their sacrifices, which they offer in the open field, even that they may bring them unto the Lord, unto the door of the tabernacle of the congregation, unto the priests, and offer them for peace offerings unto the Lord.
So we talking about peace offerings specifically here, because remember you got sin offering and burnt offerings. They're a little bit different, but this word is to Israel. We're going to skip down to verse 8 and kind of open it up to other people other than Israel. See what the criteria is if it changes. Verse 8.
And thou shalt say unto them, whatsoever man there be of the house of Israel, or of the strangers that which sojourn among you, that offereth a burnt offering or sacrifice, and bringeth it not unto the door of the tabernacle of the congregation, to offer it unto the Lord, even that man shall be cut off from among his people.
So now when you said that whatsoever man of the house of Israel or of the strangers which sojourn among you,
yes,
right? So the popular belief is that this is talking about somebody from the tribe of Reuben that's living in the tribe of Judah, right? And so if he's telling the house of Israel, that would include somebody from Gilead or somebody from Ephraim that lives in Judah. So this stranger that we talking about here in verse 8, oh, there I go.
It's up.
Now it looks sweet again. Okay. So this stranger we talking about in verse 8 is not talking about somebody from the northern kingdom or somebody from a different part of Israel that's living with you. This is talking about people outside of the nation that sojourn among you.
Yes.
All right. Go ahead. Keep going. What verse you at?
Verse 10.
Yes, sir.
And whatsoever man there be of the house of Israel, or of the stranger that sojourn among you.
So he just included both of them there. He said the house of Israel. That means Israel, Judah, if you want to split it like that. So the whole house and the stranger that might be among you. Go ahead.
That eateth any manner of blood, I will even set my face against that soul that eateth blood, and will cut him off from among his people.
So again, the same thing they told the Gentiles in the New Testament, make sure that they stay away from blood, from idols, and from fornication. Why? Because in the law it say they're going to be cut off from among they people.
Yes, sir.
Right? And YouTube take a little bit longer to update than Facebook did. So just bear with us, all right? Bear with us. But keep going, please.
Verse 11. For the life of the flesh is in the blood, and I have given it unto you upon the altar to make an atonement for your souls, for it is the blood that maketh an atonement, for the soul.
Yes, sir. Verse 12.
Therefore I say unto the children of Israel, no soul of you shall eat blood, neither shall any stranger that sojourneth among you eat blood.
So again, he's all encompassing. If you from the tribe of Naphtali and you move to Chicago, you still can't eat blood. Right? So this is not making that type of separation. This is talking about everybody who came up out of Egypt with Israel, and any other nation that finds themselves among us cannot eat blood.
That's right.
That seems real simple to me. Okay, verse 13.
Eat blood.
Cannot eat blood.
A lot of people think they confuse that with a blood transfusion.
Oh yeah, because you don't eat that.
You eating blood.
Oh my. Oh, is that what?
And they let their children die. That's crazy.
And you know, I don't know what to say about that, except that, you know, you want to, the pastor said you want to read it on the line. So he said you shall eat no manner of blood. The way we eat stuff is with the mouth. I guess you eat it with your ears or with your eyes, but blood don't come in none of them ways.
That's right, bro.
Yeah, throw
Verse
that out.
13.
Yes, sir.
And whatsoever man there be of the children of Israel, or of the stranger that sojourn among you, which hunteth and catcheth any beast or fowl that may be eaten, he shall even pour out the blood thereof and cover it with dust.
Yes, sir.
For it is the life of all flesh. The blood of it is for the life thereof. Therefore I say unto the children of Israel, ye shall eat the blood of no manner of flesh, for the life of all flesh is the blood thereof.
And you see, he kind of said it different. I love how the Lord said 3 and 4 different ways. So in case you read that one scripture and it sounded like you couldn't get a blood transfusion, it said again so specifically here. You shall eat the blood of no manner of flesh.
That's right.
So again, if it didn't come out the flesh, then that's another thing.
That's right.
Go ahead.
Whosoever eateth it shall be cut off.
Agreed. Right. So whosoever. Right, and we dealt with a lot of whosoever last week, so that's what it means.
That's right, Sister Nancy Cantu. No blood sausage. That's right.
No,
that's right, sister.
So let's go to Deuteronomy 23 on that note.
All right.
I don't know if I heard of blood sausage.
Man.
Well, I'm trying to stay out the restaurant.
Kind of crazy stuff.
I'm trying to stay out the restaurant. Somebody send me a link to some vegetarian dishes or something. I'm trying to change our life, me and my wife. For real.
Right.
Hey, shout out to everybody hanging in there on YouTube.
Yes.
I see y'all still 15 of them. I'm glad y'all can hear me. Go on, plug me in while you drive down the street. You ain't got to look at it no way.
James Holcomb, what's up, brother?
All right.
All right.
Congratulations, Sister Crystal. I heard about what happened. Congratulations.
Congratulations. Absolutely.
For sure. What I say, Deuteronomy 23.
Yes, sir.
And we're gonna skip around a little bit, but let's start with verse 1. We want to see some different things about some different people. Again, because we talking about Israel versus the stranger. So we're gonna talk about Israel because it's the law, but he gonna bring the strangers in again. Right? Go ahead. Deuteronomy 23 and 1, whenever you get there.
He that is wounded in the stones hath his privy member cut off, shall not enter into the congregation of the Lord.
Right, so we talking about people that are being prohibited from entering the congregation. Right, and so the first example is talking about somebody who was castrated, or that's the right word. So so that's the first thing. We talking about people who are not supposed to enter the congregation. Who else we got? Verse 7.
Verse 7. Thou shalt not abhor an Edomite, for he is thy brother.
What?
Thou shalt not abhor an Egyptian.
Why not? You just got freed out of Egypt. Why come I can't abhor the Egyptians? Why he say?
Because thou was a stranger in his land.
So this I almost want to pause here because
Pause,
like
brother, pause.
when you're scrolling through the internet,
Yes, sir.
this is the opposite of what you see.
That's
Now,
right.
whoever you think the Edomite is, we can get into who it is specifically later.
Come
But
on,
whoever
man.
you think it is,
Come on,
when you
man.
determine that that's him,
That's him.
this thing say, don't call him a dirty, down, rotten scoundrel.
That's right.
This thing say, don't call him a expletive.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Don't call him a cuss word.
Yeah.
Don't call him something that you wouldn't call your mama. They say don't even abhor him.
Don't the book say abhor that which is evil
That's what
and
it says.
cleave to that which is good?
And you know, now that you mention it, if the Bible say abhor that which is evil,
Uh-huh.
and then the Bible say don't abhor the Edomite,
Yes, sir.
then that means you might be suspect if you call all Edomites evil. Because he just said it right there. And so, you
How
know,
about that?
that's why we line upon line, because sometimes it's hard to keep
Yeah.
yourself straight. It's a balance that we playing out here. It's like a dance almost, right? Because it is things you're supposed to abhor, like you said,
Yes,
but you
sir.
got to know what, when, and where.
And evil comes everywhere.
I know that's true.
It's a mindset.
Now, I know some elders. Yes, sir. I know some elders that probably ran into some Edomites that they abhor. I don't know that I ever have though. Just because I'm in a different generation, right? So I don't even really understand it the same way some of my elders may about the stereotypes of Edomites, right? I know what I read and stuff like that, but like
Yeah.
as far as my personal interaction, nah, this scripture speaks the most to me. Cause why I'm gonna abhor him for?
I need to put my glasses on.
Oh man, take your time, man, because you know when you go and you look up the table of nations and you kind of try to see what they look like nowadays. You know, we understand Edom is our brother because they look like us.
Yes. Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Oh, they can't see me on YouTube. I forgot. So I'm checking out my facial features. I'm pulling on my beard and stuff and noticing how it look just like how the Edomites do. A little nappy with it. A little nappy with it. Right? And then even with the Egyptian though, I think that's even stronger. Because he just released you out of Egypt. He just destroyed Egypt. He just killed Pharaoh. Guaranteed there's some Egyptians with you. Right? And I would presume that's probably why you're making the statement, because there's someone with you. Say, hey, don't abhor him because you was just a stranger in his land. Show him love.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Brother.
Yes, sir. So let's read verse 3. I hadn't intended on reading verse 3, but I want to read it because of something else I'm going to read in a minute. So skip up to verse 3, please.
Okay. An Ammonite or a Moabite shall not enter into the congregation of the Lord,
Mm-hmm.
even to their 10th generation.
Mm-hmm.
Shall they not enter into the congregation of the Lord forever?
Now, that's something I want you to just, take that scripture and like sit it right over here on the side. And I'm going to come back to the Moabite not being able to enter and why that's relevant to what we're going to talk about today. Right? But in the meantime, flip over to Deuteronomy 28. I want everybody to know my hands are sweating. I'm like salivating to read this Deuteronomy 28. And I'm sure if you know anything about Israel, you probably know why I'm thirsty to read it, because this is our claim to fame.
Come on, man.
Right? This is the thing. I still remember I was listening to the black tape.
Uh-huh.
Sitting in the bathroom, I can tell you what I was doing. Sitting there listening to it, my mouth hanging over like I cannot believe this Deuteronomy 28.
Well,
It was the thing that convinced me. And I know that's the truth for a lot of other people. Therefore, I want to read it.
yes, sir.
And we're going to read about the stranger in Deuteronomy 28. And if you into the languages thing, right, we don't really deal with languages. We all speak English. But if you deal with languages, this the same stranger that's in Leviticus 25. Alright, so I know a lot of people deal with Leviticus 25 to tell them they're supposed to be disrespectful to strangers. But we got here Deuteronomy 28 and what I got? Verse 43.
Verse 40.
Because everybody know this is the chapter about the blessings and the curses. Again, this is how you know you Israel. Some people try to say other people Israel, still based on this chapter though. So one way or another, verse 43 gonna shed some light.
Here we go. The stranger that is within thee.
Nah, the Ephraimite that's amongst you in the south, right?
The stranger
Okay.
that is within thee
Alright, fine.
shall get up above thee very high, and thou shalt come down very low.
Now I just want to, again, because the prevailing thought is that strangers are people from the northern tribe out there split that live with, so somebody tribe of Asher is down here with the children of Judah. And so what I'm supposed to believe is that Israelite, under the curses, is going to come up higher than another Israelite? I'm going to pause right there for a second because I know everybody at home going, ooh, because that's what I did when I read this. While I was thinking of this lesson. Was like, ooh, he say something about the stranger, and how is the tribe of Manasseh going to be higher than the tribe of Judah? Under the curse.
Wow.
Right? I think it's real evident here. We talking about some other stranger.
Yes.
Can you take that from the top, please?
The stranger that is within thee shall get up above thee very high, and thou shalt come down very low. He shall lend to thee.
Wait a minute. Is this some tribe of Manasseh online? I need to hold something. Anybody that's in any tribe of Israel that got money to lend, hit us up.
Tribe of Manasseh loan money?
Man, I mean, Ephraum, somebody, man.
I need a mortgage loan.
Hey, I just need a couple
tribe of Manasseh.
I just need some lunch money. He need a loan. I just need lunch money. You can send me $20. Shoot. I'm just saying. Hey, shout out one more time, everybody on YouTube. Some people was asking what a video. You know how Apple is. We updating. It's all good. But you can hear me. And if you want to go to Facebook to see me, it's all good. I got Brother Dre with me. And, yeah, we just rocking. Right?
Hebrew servant. Baker, what it do? Kimberly Israel Johnson, greetings. Kimberly Israel Johnson, laugh out loud. How about that? Okay.
Hey, do 44 again, because I didn't read all of 44. I want everybody to make sure we remember this part.
He shall lend to thee, thou shalt not lend to him.
So tribe of Ephraim, don't holler at me, I ain't got it. Go ahead.
He shall be the head, and thou shalt be the tail.
Yeah, because somehow all Israel under the curse, right, according to Daniel, all Israel under the curse, but somehow it's some Israelite that's the head and not the tail. That's food for thought. Y'all do the dishes.
And then Israel, this is the curses that fell on Israel.
Absolutely. On Israel. That's why I said this is a claim to fame. This is like the first thing out your mouth when you start trying to tell somebody that Israel.
Yeah.
It's bro, check out Deuteronomy 28. Boom, there it is.
Yeah.
All right, let's do verse 46. Just to wrap it up, put the nail in the coffin on this stranger here.
And they shall be upon thee for a sign and for a wonder, and upon thy seed forever.
Right, this is the scripture, and I don't know how much evangelism ministry everybody that's watching me does, but this is the scripture you read when somebody else tries to tell you that Deuteronomy 28 is not about you, or Deuteronomy 28 has been fulfilled, or Deuteronomy 28 was back with Nebuchadnezzar. Yeah. This is the scripture that you read that validates us, because it says on your, what it say, a sign on you, on your seed forever.
Yes, sir.
That means up until today.
Yes.
And so again, anybody from tribe of Ephraim, we need to hold something.
A sign and a wonder. And
we know y'all the head, so I don't know why y'all ain't invited us so we can do the nation again and all the stuff. Because y'all the head and we the tail.
That sounds really ridiculous.
Yeah, man. Turn down, man. Yeah. Turn down.
Turn all the way down.
Let's go to Exodus 12. You know, I read through the internet that the children of Israel are supposed to be in South America, Central America, and you know, just try to understand that just like the United States of America, people come and go from this place at all times since the 1800s. And the same thing is true in Central and Southern America. So when you try to say the whole island is a tribe of Israel, like, that's pretty much impossible. Right? I don't know if anybody study history out there. While we turn into Exodus, the conquistadors are Spanish, children of Japheth, that took over what we call Central South America and intermingled with the natives. They didn't do it the same way the English did us. Right? They intermingled with them. And I say that to say that if you didn't come over there on a slave ship, you are not Israelite. And if you go ask them, they know this. Right? Yeah. Somehow we the ones trying to tell them their history, even though we the ones that lost our history. Go figure that. Go figure that. Let's go to Exodus 12. I want to read a couple things on Moses before we go past Moses there.
Exodus, what up, Brother Thin?
Oh, Thin in the house.
Clyde Bridewell.
Uh-oh, Brother Clyde. Jared. That's my man's in there. What's good, bro?
Yes,
Shout out to the family.
Crystal, peace to you, sis.
I'm going to read one verse in Exodus 12, and then we're going to go to Numbers 11. But Exodus 12, verse 38.
Exodus 12, verse 38.
Mm-hmm.
And a mixed multitude went up also with them, and flocks and herds, even very much cattle.
Right, so like I said, that one verse, take that verse also, and you want to sit that right over there next to the Moabite verse. Right, it say they mixed multitude came up with them. Right, that means a mingled crowd came up with them, and we also want to remember that they had a bunch of what did it say, ox and cattle.
Yes.
Right now, Numbers chapter 11. Shout out Sister Jones on YouTube. Yes, that's ODOT. Please believe it. In the flesh, hiding behind the screen.
And the title of the lesson is Servants of God, Israel versus the Stranger Part 2. Like, share, post, like, share, post.
Yeah, it's not too late to share.
It's
not too late. Not too late.
Numbers
Shout out to everybody on Instagram. I know Brother Wu on there. Hey, what's up, Brother Wu? Hold your head, bro. What I say? Numbers chapter 11. Yes, sir. And let's do verse 1. We're going to deal with this mixed multitude just a little bit because I like to keep it transparent. Right? I don't want to like sugarcoat it. Just give you the sunny side of it. Let's keep it transparent.
Yes, sir.
All right. Shout out to the mixed multitude. Here we go.
Yes. And when the people complained, it displeased the Lord, and the Lord heard it, and his anger was kindled.
Israel's good for kindling anger. That's kind of what we do nowadays, right?
Yes, sir.
Police get out, talk to us, and we just got to kindle the anger.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And the fire of the Lord burnt among them, and consumed them that were in the uttermost parts of the camp.
So it's important that we start at verse 1 because the people complained and the Lord got upset and then did this, right? And then something else happened after this, but again, it's important you start here where the people all complained. The Lord burned up some of them, right? Keep going.
And the people cried unto Moses. And when Moses prayed unto the Lord, the fire was quenched.
Hey, shout out to all the prayer warriors out there. Keep going.
Yes, sir. And he called the name of the place Taberah, because the fire of the Lord burnt among them.
So it just say Israel or the people complained. Don't even tell you what they was complaining about, right? Almost sounds like it's just a general complaint, like there's dust everywhere. I need a burger. Where's the cucumbers from Egypt? Oh, my hair, right?
Man.
Verse 4.
And the mixed multitude that was among them fell a lusting.
Notice that the word mixed is spelled different here, right? That's because it's a different word here. It's worth your time to go look it up, but we still talking about mingled assembly. So they fell a lusting, right? So, lusting is when you desire something really strongly, right? Keep going.
And the children of Israel also wept again and said, who shall give us flesh to eat?
So you got to take the good with the bad. Israel deal with the mixed multitude. We deal with the strangers. And here, sometimes, the relationships get you in a jam.
We want some big ribs.
And yes, sir. And similar to Adam and Eve, the strangers complained or fell a lusting. What could have Israel have done to correct this? Being that they was the people that was called out. They was the firstborn and all that kind of stuff, right? Just like with your firstborn, right? If the younger kids fall a lusting, whose fault is it that nobody stopped? The firstborn.
Check time.
Right? So, keep going.
We remember...
Oh, wait, I'm sorry, wait. It said, who will give us flesh to eat? Who shall give us flesh to eat? And remember that scripture that we sat over here in Exodus 12, they came out of Egypt with flocks and herds. So you don't need somebody to give you flesh to eat because you spoiled the Egyptians. That's the first thing, is you don't need no help with flesh. So you really just complaining, like he said in verse 1. And then the second thing is, it say, who gonna give us flesh to eat? Man, dude, the Lord just killed the whole nation for you and the king. And of course, he gonna give you the flesh to eat.
Sounds like they wanted more than cattle, though, bro.
Ooh,
they was talking about they wanted some fish.
They wanted burgers.
I want some tilapia, perch, walleye,
on a toasted
something like that.
Right.
They want some salmon.
Raisin bread with it.
Right.
It's a hot sauce. Well, turn down.
Right.
Verse 5.
We remember the fish which we did eat in Egypt freely. The cucumbers and the melons and the leeks and the onions and garlic.
Now, I like onions a lot. But you know what? There's something to that because, like, the flesh they wanted to eat, but they really wanted fish, like you said, because they came with flesh. So you just picky. Oh, you just picky, and beggars can't be choosy.
Man.
Oh, my gosh.
Man.
Boy, I tell you, Israel, you know them by their fruits, boy, I tell you. All right, what else?
But now our soul is dried away, and there's nothing at all beside this manna before our eyes. He made bread to fall, food to fall from heaven, and they say, I'm tired of this manna.
And like I know that this is special bread, but that's all we got is the special bread. Always blessing us and all this special. We want regular bread.
What y'all think about this? I want to read what y'all think.
Yeah, we want Wonder Bread.
Somebody say something. Let me read what y'all thinking right here.
Yeah, because I'm thinking about bread too.
That's a trip.
French bread, croissants,
man,
a little bagel or something like that. And you know what? Why y'all typing? This is food for thought because they in the wilderness. And you know, not too long from now, we understand that some people might end up in the wilderness again. And to tell you why he lets you go hungry. He lets you go hungry to prove you.
Speak on it, bro.
So, like, you know, we playing around with the bread and the burger jokes, but, like, understand that should you be fortunate enough to make it to the wilderness,
yes, sir,
this is you.
Yes, sir.
And the mixed multitude with you.
Yes, sir.
So, you know what I mean? You got a problem letting the sugar go right now. Maybe you can kind of empathize with them. Right? If you can't go a couple of hours without having a soda or something like that, maybe you kind of understand what this is.
Wow.
Just maybe. Just maybe. Let's go to Numbers 11. Somebody said something good on there.
We still on Numbers 11. Let's see. My man Hebrew servant said, stop it. Nah. Perch turn up.
Yeah, you know what it is.
We never satisfied. That's what Brother Melvin George said.
Bruh, for real.
Yep.
You ain't never lied. Bro.
Yeah.
Let's do verse 10. We still in chapter 11, verse 10.
Verse 10. Then Moses heard the people weep throughout their families.
So not just the mixed multitude. The people is weeping through their families.
Every man in the door of his tent. And the anger of the Lord was kindled greatly. Moses also was displeased.
I'm a little displeased myself, but go ahead.
And Moses said unto the Lord, wherefore hast thou afflicted thy servant? And wherefore have I not found favor in thy sight, that thou layest this burden of all this people upon me?
Right, so they done got to Moses now, and he crying out to the Lord. And you know it's a problem when you get the man of God crying out against you. Say, man, you done gave me all these people, I can't barely bear them all. Right, verse 15. What else did he say?
And if thou deal thus with me, kill me, I pray thee, out of hand. If I have found favor in thy sight, let me not see my wretchedness.
Woo, so Moses is basically saying, like, man, like, if this is what you're gonna have me do, why don't you go ahead and kill me? Right? And I don't know if anybody ever had that thought of, like, just let me die then. Right? Nowadays we call that depression. Right? Wow. We call this thoughts of suicide.
Wow. And
this is what we're talking about here.
Yeah,
because they wanted some food. You got the man of God wishing he was dead. That's food for thought. Read verse 16. We're going to try to get through this one.
And the Lord said unto Moses, gather unto me 70 men of the elders of Israel, whom thou knowest to be elders of the people, and officers over them, and bring them onto the tabernacle of the congregation, that they may stand there with thee.
Yeah.
And I will come down and talk with thee there, and I will take of thy spirit, of the spirit which is upon thee, and I will put it upon them, and they shall bear the burden of the people with thee, that thou bear it not thyself alone.
So the Lord basically telling them that the same thing that Jethro told them, if you remember last week, he told them, hey, look, you're going to wear away, you're trying to deal with all these people, and we just saw it. The man wishing for death.
That's right.
So that ain't wearing away. And so the Lord is basically co-signing Jethro now, saying, look, bring the people up here, 70 of them, I'm going to take your spirit off you, put it on them, and then we're going to keep going. Right? Verse 18.
And say thou unto the people, sanctify yourselves against tomorrow, and ye shall eat flesh.
Yeah.
For ye have wept in the ears of the Lord, saying, who shall give us flesh to eat?
Mm-hmm.
For it was well with us in Egypt.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore the Lord will give you flesh, and ye shall eat.
So again, he telling them, not only am I gonna give you flesh, but I'm gonna give you so much flesh that you're gonna abhor the flesh, just like you abhor the stuff that came from heaven. Right. So let's skip around a little bit. Go to verse 20.
But even a whole month until it come out of your nostrils, and it be loathsome unto you, because that ye have despised the Lord which is among you, and have wept before him, saying, why came we forth out of Egypt?
And it makes sense for the mixed multitude to be a part of this. Because like if you were a slave, you might wish you had a sandwich or something, but you remember getting whipped. But if you wasn't a slave and you remember the sandwiches, then that's all you got to think about. Is man, in Egypt it was love. Right? And that's kind of what they're saying here. Not just that we missed Egypt, but it was love back there. We had the cucumbers, onion, garlic. Right?
That's right, Sister Rose. Sister Rose say this is why we are in this condition now. When we had what we needed, we obviously didn't appreciate it. You're right about that, sis. Yep.
And Moses asked the Lord a question here, verse 22.
Verse 22. Shall the flocks and herds be slain for them to suffice them? Or shall all the fish of the sea be gathered together for them to suffice them?
So Moses like, where this gonna come from? And the Lord tell him, fall back, you're gonna see. Verse 31.
Verse 31.
Yes, sir.
And there went forth a wind from the Lord, and brought quails from the sea, and let them fall by the camp, as it were a day's journey on this side, and as it were a day's journey on the other side, round about the camp, and as it were 2 cubits high upon the face of the earth.
Read 33, pardon.
And while the flesh was yet between their teeth, ere it was chewed, the wrath of the Lord was kindled against the people, and the Lord smote the people with a very great plague. So
the plague came as a result of the food or the meat that they was given. Right? We talking about a plague. Right? They didn't eat it and then just choke to death. It said as they was eating it, the plague came.
Yes, sir.
Right? So whatever the plague was most likely in the meat. And again, I read that as food for thought in case you should ever find yourself in the wilderness. And the people around you get to complaining, and the Lord be like, you know what, here you complainers, you might want to fast that day. It might have been a good idea to fast.
Yeah.
Right? Let's go to back to the Leviticus 19. I want to read one more thing before I get into David, because I know that's what everybody waiting for. We need to talk about David, because David is the man. And I don't want to give it away, though. Leviticus 19, and let's just read 33 and 34. Leviticus chapter 19, we're going to talk about this stranger one more time in relationship to Egypt.
Yes, sir.
19 and 33, whenever you get that, go ahead.
And if a stranger sojourn with thee in your land, ye shall not vex him.
Right, so the question is always, the stranger, are we talking about the Chinese dude that's with us? Or are we talking about the Reubenite that's with us?
Stranger.
Let's see if we can get understanding from the scripture.
Yes, sir.
From this scripture here. Go ahead. 34.
But the stranger that dwelleth with you shall be unto you as one born among you. Thou shalt love him as thyself.
So the stranger shall be as one that's born among you. Right? So I guess I miss how it's possible to separate the children of Israel in this scripture here. Right? If they among you, they still Israel, and this is the word to Israel.
Yes.
Right? People that don't deal with the Gentiles will tell you that every single thing in here is all about Israel. So if it's all about Israel, why are we talking about Israelites that's with other Israelites that we got to somehow treat not the same as other Israelites? Did you finish that?
No, sir.
Finish that, please.
For ye were strangers in the land of Egypt. I am the Lord your God.
Unless that stranger means that we are really Egyptians and we was just staying there for a little while. This here is how you know that the stranger is talking about somebody not or non-Israel.
Yes, sir.
right? And I feel like I'm beating up a dead horse. So let's go to 1 Samuel and deal with David a little bit. I got a few minutes left because, you know, 1 Samuel, what did I say, 22. And 1 Samuel chapter 22, David is on the run from Saul. And that's kind of what we're going to be dealing with for the remainder of this show. Some things that David did while he was on the run with Saul. Did he go and cuss out all of the other nations and tell them that you my servant, do what I say? Or did he do something other than that? Because if anybody was going to talk crazy to the other nations, it should be David, the dude who killed 10,000s, thousands and thousands. Right? Anointed by God, killed Goliath when he was a little kid. If anybody should be able to talk crazy, it should be David. Right? As everybody wanted to help David. So let's see. 1 Samuel 22 and what I got here? Verse 1? Yeah, let's do verse 1.
David therefore departed thence and escaped to a cave at Adullam. And when his brethren and all his father's house heard it, they went down thither to him.
So he ran to a cave on the run from Saul again, right? And so because the king is chasing him, you kind of want your family to be with you because, you know, you can bargain with your family with their life. So everybody come down to him, and we're going to find out what he did with his family. Let's verse 3.
And David went thence to Mizpah of Moab. And he said unto the king of Moab.
Hold on, wait. I know what he said. He said, you a low down dirty scoundrel. You going to lick my shoes. Right? Is that what he said? Wow. You going to lick my boots?
I don't read that.
What did he say?
Let my father and my mother, I pray thee, come forth.
That means like please.
And be with you. Till I know what God will do for me.
Right, so he didn't tell the king of Moab that you wicked and you the children of incest and you the children of sin, you the workers of iniquity, say anything like that. He said, hey, I pray you hold down my family for me. Right, it almost sounds like making friends with the unrighteous man. That's almost what it sounds like. We're going to see if that's what it is. Did you read 4?
No, sir.
Yes, sir.
And he brought them before the king of Moab, and they dwelt with him all the while that David was in the hold.
Right, because at this moment David is failing, right, because the king got him on the run, and Moab is receiving his people, his immediate family we talking about, the people that he loved the most, his mama and them, daddy and them, his brother and them, and his wives.
All them.
Right? So this is our first thing here, dealing with somebody outside, not just any random person outside. We talking about the king. So you can't try to tell me that the king is related to Rufus, so she really is like, no. We talking about the king of Moab now. Right? Yes, sir. Let's go to chapter 27.
27.
We got a few of them left. 1 Samuel 27, and we're going to start it off again at verse 1. Because David had friends all over the place. All over the place. Right? Verse 1, whenever you get that.
And David said in his heart, I shall now perish one day by the hand of Saul. There's nothing better for me than that I should speedily escape into the land of the Philistines, and Saul shall despair of me to seek me any more in any coast of Israel, so shall I escape out of his hand.
So I got a confession. I like movies, like gangster movies, and I'm confessing that to you right now because a famous saying, if you watch those kind of movies, is that my enemy's enemy is my friend. And that's what we're witnessing here. Because the Philistines is the arch nemesis of Israel. Right? All the way back with Samson had problems with the Philistines. All the way up to David here, with Saul rather. And when Saul is now chasing David, he said, look, let me hurry up and get to where the Philistines are. I wonder why. Because, he had to be participating in a war with them. So how is it that he going to go behind enemy lines? And I'm not sure we're going to get understanding of why he went behind enemy lines in this here episode, but that's definitely food for thought. Go do your homework on that while you wondering whether or not you can talk to people of other nations.
Yes, sir.
Right? Keep going. Verse 2, right?
Yes, sir. David arose and he passed over with the 600 men that were with him onto Achash, the son of Moab, the king of Gath.
Man, come on. So he going to another king now? The Philistines want another. Now you got to go to the king of Gath?
Yes.
Man, come on, keep going.
And David dwelt with Achash at Gath, he and his men, every man with his household.
So the people came with their whole household, and they're going to stay with the king of Gath. Go ahead, keep going.
Even David with his 2 wives, Anuam and Jezreelites, and Abigail the Carmelitess, Nabal's wife.
Yes, sir. So everybody's family. Let's skip down to verse 6, because it's finna get real.
Then Achash gave him Ziklag that day. Wherefore Ziklag pertaineth unto the kings of Judah unto this day.
So he's so cool with Buddy, because remember, he got 600 people with him, but he come to the king, though.
With Buddy.
You know what I'm saying? He cool with Buddy the king, right? But he brought a bunch of people with him, so that means that the king is not in a position where he has to give you something, because he knows you're on the run from your king.
Yes,
if anything, you isolated. I can just stamp you out real quick.
Yes.
But instead, he gave them cities. Cities? Anybody online ever been given a city? Because I ain't never been given no city. My mama gave me $20 once. $100 a couple times. But never a city, man. Not even a village. I ain't even gave a house. They gave this man cities, plural.
Yes.
Right? That's verse 3:7, please.
And the time that David dwelt in the country of the Philistines.
Oh, yeah, because he probably just dropped his people off and ran away real quick, right? How long was he there?
Was a full year and 4 months.
Man, cut it out. Cut it out. A year and a couple months, David, on the run from the king, is chilling with people outside of the nation of Israel. Chilling on it for a year, 4 months.
Yes.
That's a long time. That's a whole cycle of feast days and everything. Right? That's food for thought. Let's go to verse 9. Drop down to verse 9, because David did some other stuff.
And David smote the land, and left neither man nor woman alive, and took away the sheep, and the oxen, and the asses, and the camels, and the apparel, and returned, and came to Achash.
And he did the same thing that he had been doing. Because then people gave him cities. Ain't that what the Lord did? Gave you cities. And he said, I give you the city, now go possess it. That's what David doing here. The guy gave him cities, now he going to take it. And that's why I say he smote the land. He leave no man or woman or oxen or camels or nothing. And he took everything back to the city that they started in. Right? Verse 10.
And Achash said, Whether have ye made a road today? And David said, Against the south of Judah, and against the south of Jermelites, and against the south of the Kenites. And David saved neither man nor woman alive, to bring tidings to Gath, saying, lest they should tell on us, saying, Yes, sir.
I'm sorry, I just do. King David said it. I didn't say it.
Yes. So did David, and so will be his manner, all the while he dwelleth in the country of the Philistines.
Hey, let it be known that David, don't let nobody go and tell that David gonna set it up all the whole year and 4 months he living in Philistine land.
Yes, sir.
And you know, that means if you're gonna operate like that, you gotta be given room for that. Because again, like David not a gangster, he got a couple hundred men, but you know what I'm saying, he's alienated from his nation. So he's being given room to do this.
Yeah.
Right, now let's flip over to chapter 29, and we're going to deal with these Philistines again, and some of the things that happened for this whole year that we was there. Oh yeah, I think I got just enough time to do this one. Yes, sir.
Okay.
1 Samuel 29, let's do verse 1.
Now the Philistines gathered together all the armies of Aphat, and the Israelites pitched by the fountain which is in Jezreel. And the lords of the Philistines passed on by hundreds and by thousands. But David and his men passed on in reward with Achash.
So David and them is in the back, right? They on their way to war. The Philistines in the front, and then you got David and 600 of them in the back, right? And remember, this is Israel going to war in alignment with the Philistines, right? And you might know how this story ends, but like just pause there for a second, because David is here. The man after God's heart is here, on the run from the king. Right? Keep going. Verse 3.
Then said the princes of the Philistines, What do these Hebrews here?
So he ain't hiding. He not like in camouflage or something like that. He got on the Pharaoh's hat so he look Egyptian. Like, nah, that's the Hebrew now. What they doing?
Yes.
What else he said?
And Achaz said unto the princes of the Philistines, Is not this David, the servant of Saul, the king of Israel, which hath been with me these days, or these years?
These days or these years, can't keep up how long you been there.
And I have found no fault in him since he fell unto me unto this day.
Right, keep going, verse 4.
And the princes of the Philistines was wroth with him, and the princes of the Philistines said unto him, Make this fellow return, that he may go again to his place, which thou hast appointed him, and let him not go down with us to battle, lest in the battle he be an adversary to us.
And so here they talking about they debating whether or not they're gonna let David stay. Right, so we're gonna cut out some of this. We're gonna skip down to verse 9 and kind of get to the direct conversation between the two men, because David is talking to the king and he says some things here. Because remember, the conventional thinking is David should be cussing them out. Like, I don't want to be with y'all no way. Y'all some dirty, nasty, wicked people anyway, iniquity workers. But verse 9, what do you say?
And Achaz answered and said to David, I know that thou art good in my sight, as an angel of God. Notwithstanding, the princes of the Philistines have said, He shall not go up with us to the battle.
When the last time you heard somebody call the Israelites standing on the corner an angel of God, as an angel of God? So you're good in my sight as an angel of God. I mean, that's food for thought, because like that means David held his integrity with these people.
Didn't sound like he abhorred them
at all. Even though, remember that scripture we put aside about Moab, right? It didn't say that about the Philistines, but David, he got the heart of God here.
Yes, sir.
All right, and verse 11, what actually happened? Did David say, okay, y'all got me, let me go run back to the land of Israel? What happened?
So David and his men rose up early to depart in the morning to return into the land of the Philistines.
Into the land of Israel.
Into the land of the Philistines.
Oh, so he didn't even leave Philistine. Just because they mad at me, so what? I'm still here. Because I'm cool with them. Go ahead.
And the Philistines went up to Jezreel.
And they went up to Jezreel.
Yes, sir.
Woo. I got one more for 1 minute. Let's go to 2 Samuel chapter 1. Second Samuel 1 and verse 1.
Now it came to pass after the death of Saul, when David was returned from the slaughter of the Amalekites, and David had abode 2 days in Ziklag.
And so I just wanted to kind of end it off with that, because we're still that same city now. That he was finna go up and fight. The king gave him Ziklag, and that he's still here. After the death of Saul, you know, this is when he get called to become king now, right? Well, he's actually crowned, still in the land of the Philistines.
Yes.
Right? One more verse, and then it's the last one. Chapter 2 and verse 1.
And it came to pass after this that David inquired of the Lord, saying, Shall I go up into any of the cities of Judah? And the Lord said unto him, Go up. And David said, Whither shall I go up? And he said, Unto Hebron.
And so, I just wanted to read that last one to let you know that he stayed in the Philistine area until the death of Saul. And he was so cool with the people around him, not just the Philistine, the king of Gath too. So cool with him, they gave him cities, and them cities still pertain to the kings of Judah up until, I guess Nebuchadnezzar or something. Right? So again, David dealing with people outside of the children of Israel. The last scripture that I didn't read, that we won't read, but feel free to Luke chapter 3, and it talk about all of the sons of God. And I just want to leave with this thought. It runs down the lineage from Adam, Seth, all the way to David, and let us reason together. Are we to assume from this chapter where it talk about the son of Jonah, the son of Joseph, that those are the only people receiving salvation? Are those the only sons of God? Did it say only?
House of prayer for all people.
I'm sorry. That's something I can't do.
Come on, DJ.
I want to make mention of an excellent book called The Four Winds of Heaven. It has an analysis of the rapture, saved, and born again. You got to get this book. Gives you a great breakdown of what's happening, the four kingdoms. We also want to talk about Black history as told by the prophets, the Israel of God. Come join us this Saturday, 520 West 138th Street, 12 noon. Woo, woo.
Hey, this Black history.
And next week's lesson, Brother Will is going to bring it. Praise the Lord. Thank you, Brother Odot. Praise the Lord.
Appreciate you, bro.
Jesus' name. Yes, yes.
Hey, we're doing this. We're going to read about the strange Deuteronomy 28.